A little bit of Genesis there to brighten up your Thursday afternoon. We hope you'll stay with us because joining us is our dear friend Joe Lindsley from Lviv Labs in Lviv, Ukraine. Joe, welcome back. So happy to see your smiling face. I don't know if it's a smile or a grimace, but you're getting through this. Welcome back.
Yeah, it's a smile, and actually, for those who are watching online, you can see I'm wearing the traditional Ukrainian embroidery called Veshivanka. Today was a holiday in Ukraine, Veshivanka Day. Ukrainians love holidays, and they have a holiday dedicated to their national traditional garb. And yesterday, I was wondering if Ukrainians would actually celebrate today, and I think I should not have wondered. Of course, they did. And today, all the streets of Lviv and throughout this country, including President Zelensky in Kyiv, people were wearing the colorful traditional garments of this country, and there was music everywhere in the streets. And I realized that Ukrainians, I saw this during my time here during the pandemic, Ukrainians they're really not afraid. They're not afraid of death, and they embrace life. If you're going to fight for life, you have to live, I think is the Ukrainian mentality. They also have this saying in this region, Vasko Zheta Skoda Smert. Life is difficult, but death is a pity. So live well. And I really felt that today on this holiday. It was a beautiful, vibrant day, celebratory in time of war. And then that day was punctuated just a few moments ago. We had an air raid alarm. The last time we had two air raid alarms on Sunday and a Monday when we heard explosions immediately as those alarms ended. The loudest explosions we've heard in Lviv. My building shook. And the air defense seemed to work largely those days, but the Russians did hit some on the edge of the city between here and Poland. Just now, in this alarm, it was extremely short, and I was just outside a few moments before connecting with you, Paul, and we were watching strange things in the sky. We saw a flash of light. We saw some lights moving very high. It's seemingly high in the sky. No sound of explosion. We don't know what happened, but now the alarm is over.
I'm in awe of the people of Ukraine and just the fact that they're trying to maintain some sense of normalcy in a war zone, and I find that inspiring, and I think a lot of Americans share that sentiment. Joe, I couldn't help but notice the U.S. Embassy reopening in Kyiv. Obviously, things not anywhere near normal, but what I'm curious about, the basics of life, which food, water, are people going to their jobs as usual? Internet, are there outages? Talk a little bit about a typical day. And again, you are in Western Ukraine. The conditions get worse, it seems, the farther east you go, closer to Russia, where much of the fighting is taking place. But tell us about an average day and the sense right now when it comes to morale, too. It seems like Ukraine has the upper hand. Russia, in many respects, a paper tiger. And God willing, they won't resort to chemical or biological weapons. But I'm just curious, how are things going day to day? And are people resuming sort of a normal schedule, a normal routine?
Well, first, I'll say, in certain places of Ukraine, the day-to-day is not even possible now. And the city of Mariupol, which there still are a few Azov fighters, Ukrainian fighters in that steel factory on the sea. But the rest of the city has completely fallen into Russian hands. And today I looked at pictures of that city in 2019 on May 19th, this national holiday where people dress in the traditional garb and they celebrate. And it was such beautiful photographs of that lovely city on the sea. And now you look at the photographs and it's totally in ruins. The city of Kherson, also in the same region, Ukrainian partisans, that's completely occupied by Russia. In fact, the fake government now that's taken over that city has applied for membership in the Russian Federation, and Ukrainian partisans are sneakily attacking the Russian police in the city. But they live in a World War II style occupation. So some places are undergoing immense suffering. In Kharkiv, Ukraine's second largest city, very near the Russian border in the east, people are starting to come back. because the Ukrainian army has pushed away the Russians. In fact, I heard reports from people crossing the border today that there were more Ukrainians coming in than leaving. So that's a great sign. But at the same time, we know that the southern coast is very troubled, and the cities of Odessa, Zaporizhia, and Dnipro are fearing the next steps of the Russians. But meanwhile, here in Lviv, yeah, it's strange. I mean, as I said today, I heard an orchestra playing in the park today. And so in one way, it's very normal, but everyone was singing patriotic songs. So at the same time, you realize everyone is focused. The main supply difficulty for normal life here is fuel. I was supposed to be on the way through a trip through the country today, but we had to get fuel from Poland, and we're still waiting for that shipment. So there is a fuel shortage at the moment. But when it comes to food and everything else, Western Ukraine, Kyiv, are okay. But the areas near the front lines are suffering, and that's the mission of everyone here is to supply them with what they need.
Joe, what do you need? What do the people of Ukraine need most right now? How can we step up and help?
Well, for one of our biggest upcoming needs, as we've been with our team at Ukrainian Freedom News, we've been working to supply units of soldiers and hospitals around the country. And now, as the weather warms up, there's a need for summer tactical shoes. So we actually have a Ukrainian manufacturer here, which is great. We can support Ukrainian businesses, and so that's one of our main missions now is to get tactical shoes. There's an ongoing need for helmets and bulletproof vests, which despite, and this is one thing that we're working to investigate, but we hear of all of the money coming in from the West, but still there are guys going to fight that don't have basic protective gear. And also we're seeing military grade first aid kits are getting held up in Polish customs. And you know, this is not even defensive gear. It's first aid kits. This has been a major frustration to get these first aid kits. It's really inexplicable, Paul. And so we're trying to cobble together. We found some good sources in some other countries, which I won't mention because it might jeopardize these sources. But just to get first aid kits that have the, you know, if you get shot, the chest seal you can have to try to survive has been very difficult to obtain. So we've had a sort of a small band of donors that have helped us, and this is what I think Ukrainian democracy is: small groups of people working together to help everyone they know who's fighting at the front. But I think that at a very basic level, it's that the world continues to pay attention, and I think that, you know, we're not for your show and for social media. I think this would be this conflict would be very difficult for people to understand in America. But what we've seen is that people realize this is a free, happy, prosperous nation that Putin is trying to erase. And that's the thing that's the first thing, is that as long as the world keeps supporting the idea of Ukraine, and maybe recognizes that Ukraine is fighting, and Ukrainians keep telling me this, they believe they are fighting the world, the war that the world doesn't want to fight. And we see this now with Sweden and Finland scrambling to get in NATO because they too are terrified of Russia.
Yeah. Well, it's a fight for freedom. It's a fight for democracy. I think something most Americans can understand. A fight for the rule of law, not the law of the jungle. And we are with you, and we will do our small part on CCO to continue to bring your story of hope and resolve to our listeners. Joe Lindsley, Lviv Labs, thank you for everything you do. Be safe, and give our best wishes to all your colleagues. Hang in there, my friend.
Paul, thank you, and give my best to Jordana as well.
I sure will. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll be back. We've got severe storms now in the metro. Details coming up next.